Hi, good day. So we want to welcome you today to our second session on social media. How are you doing, Kate?
Very good. How are you doing?
Well, thank you. Today it's called Social Media and Deception. And we're chatting a little bit last week about influencers. And today we're picking on two of them, kind of lifting up their reality. One is Andrew Tate and Meghan Trainor.
Yes.
I believe Andrew is 36 years old.
Yeah,
Meghan Trainor.
around about that.
Yeah.
Meghan Trainor is about 29.
Yeah, so just help us a little on the reach, the sort of influence, the extent of that these people have.
Yeah, so these are sort of what you'd call macro influencers or just big influencers, social media stars. So Meghan Trainor, when you hear their age, you might think, okay, they're not really going to be reaching the younger generations. It's not someone we should worry about.
Yeah.
But their reach goes all the way from sort of primary school level up to people in their 40s and up. So Meghan Trainor, to just give you an idea of how influential she is, she's an American singer. You've probably heard her music. So on YouTube, she has about 14 million followers. On TikTok, she has about 18 million followers. And on Spotify, where you can stream her music, she gets more than 26,000 million listeners a month. Andrew Tate is a little bit more difficult to track. He's been banned on a lot of social media platforms, but just in that he's been interviewed all over the world on massive media platforms, just shows how relevant he is. So his influence is, and he's very proud of it, he reaches a lot of really young men. It seems to be sort of ages 11, 12 and up, and he has also millions of fans all over the world.
He's quite a buff-looking guy.
Yeah, he's a massive oak. Yeah, he was a kickboxer for a couple of years.
Wealthy guy.
Very wealthy. Yeah, he made his money in kickboxing, other business ventures. Some of them a little bit suspicious, sort of webcam stuff and gambling. Other a little bit more, sort of normal ways. But got a very, very wealthy man. Yeah.
Yeah. So Meghan Trainor, she's a music lady. She pops up little music videos.
Yeah, music videos. Her fame is kind of. It was stagnant for a while, and for the past couple of years with TikTok, she's really risen up again. A lot of her songs, sound bites, little mini clips from her songs have been used in millions of TikToks all over the world.
So our concern really is that perhaps parents aren't aware of the reach, this influence, and then why we call it deception is because they present themselves on one front in one way. But as soon as you go beyond perhaps sometimes that little 30-second TikTok video, there's a much broader moral influence they're impacting, which could be very kind of personal, their view on life. I think Meghan Trainor, she clearly points to the LGBTQ community. Would that be right?
Yep, 100%.
And so tell us a little bit more about that. But then also Andrew Tate, his moral view on marriage and life is very alternative, very different.
Yeah.
His view on women.
Very different. So exactly like we spoke about last week, with the truth being kind of the core of things. Like you said, they have their own morals and views and things like that. But it's all from their truth. So you're coming into their space on social media. Very subjective. Yeah.
Their worldview.
So with Meghan Trainor, she's definitely more liberal. Andrew Tate, he would kind of agree nowadays that he leans a bit more on the conservative side, but still the morals aren't from a Christian perspective. So Meghan Trainor, if you go onto her Instagram and her TikTok, and we'll have videos in the description box below the YouTube video, you can watch them yourselves. So if you just follow her links from her music and you go onto her TikTok or her Instagram, you'll find videos every now and then that are just kind of littered with this LGBTQ plus narrative. So for example, in the video that we'll have linked, there's her little son who's quite young. I'm not sure how old he is, but he's only a couple of years old, and he's with one of her best friends, and he's kind of commenting on how they would love for him to grow up gay. If he's straight, that's okay, they'll accept him, but it'd be great if he was gay. There's other videos with them dressing their child up in like these big sort of boots that a drag queen would wear as well. With Andrew Tate, it depends. A lot of people, even more conservative people, don't like him. He's a very controversial person just in general. These days he seems to have calmed down a little bit. He can have some really good things to say. He talks a lot to young men, which is why they like him. And in a recent interview he did, he spoke about, people listen to him because he's cool. He's a cool guy. He exercises, he works out, he dates different women, he's got really nice cars, he's got a nice house. He's living kind of an earthly, really nice, fun lifestyle would be.
It looks good on the outside.
Yeah, it looks good on the outside. So from that perspective, he can say some really good things, like young men should look after themselves. If you have a woman, you should look after her. You need to build yourself up to be a strong man. You know, don't just cry all the time about your feelings. You need to kind of hold strong and strive towards things, be the best version of yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. The difference is that his perspective on these things is coming from a place that aren't Christian moral values. So, for example, when he talks about marriage, I mean, it's his views changed a bit now, but he used to say he'd never get married. There's no point. Marriage is only valuable to women because of the financial gain and because of the legal stability. He once made comments about how if a man cheats on a woman, it's okay, or it's better than a woman cheating on a man because men can keep emotions out of sex, whereas women can't. So it's difficult for a young person to kind of distinguish between, he says men should strive to be better. Yes, I agree with that. But then when he slowly pushes in these other moral core values, it can become a little bit mixed up.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hidden all that. That's where the deception comes from. Meghan Trainor, she kind of became famous because she was all for body positivity. You don't need to be extremely thin to do well in the music industry, which isn't a bad message, but now these other messages are coming through slowly through her social media as well.
So she's the one that created that song, I'm Your Mother.
Yes, I'm Your Mother.
Very popular.
Yeah, it's very popular. And they're all fun, upbeat songs. If you're not really listening to the words, it can very easily just kind of, you listen to it in the car, you can play it on TikTok, and it's the kind of music that young girls and their moms are listening to. There's loads of videos on TikTok and on other social media sites with, it's very popular to do little dances on these sites. So it's moms and their young daughters dancing to these songs without realizing the message that's being received. So that mother song, it puts the woman in the place as the mother, and that all men should listen to her. Don't mansplain, don't speak back to me. You don't have anything of value to say, I'm your mother. You need to listen to what I have to say as the woman.
So, I mean, from a Christian worldview, we'd be very cautious of that. That's going to put tension on a relationship between young people and adults, how they relate to adults.
Definitely, yeah.
And then also that subtle influence, the little part where the child is, they want the boy to dress up as a girl. It looks kind of happy. It looks like it should be right.
Does. It always looks happy, and it's always about acceptance. Like in
tolerance.
Exactly. Yeah. It's fun and it's accepting, and it's always this narrative of because we love everyone, so we'll love you if you're straight, but we'll be happy that you'll grow up to be gay, kind of thing. It's it's all under this love, and it does look, if you watch, and you have to remember these clips on TikTok and YouTube Shorts are about a minute and a half long. So you're only getting this, and it always looks very exciting and very happy. Yeah.
So are you saying that this is sort of an occasional thing a young person is going to see? Is this just every now and then, or is this regular exposure for a young person?
I think it's regular exposure, definitely. So if you manage to kind of just find, and these are just two influences that
we're addressing today.
Yeah, that we're addressing today. There's hundreds of them, maybe even thousands of these massive influences. Most celebrities these days kind of lean more towards the Meghan Trainor side of things. And there's different algorithms when it comes to technology. So if you like a post, if I were to like when I was discovering Andrew Tate and what he was about, you kind of double click, you get a like on his video, and then I scroll again and more of his stuff will pop up. So the more you watch it, the more you'll see it. Same with Meghan Trainor. The more you watch it, the more you'll see it, and then they said, okay, you really enjoy watching this type of thing, we're going to link you into another influencer who has similar views. And you can spend hours.
Micro influencers.
There's micro influence as well. So people who are a little bit smaller. So there's not really any point in kind of saying to your children or your young adults, unfollow them. They're no good, because there's these micro influencers as well who are much smaller. They have a smaller reach. You won't necessarily recognize them. And we have a video about that as well. A young girl who's kind of the opposite side of Andrew Tate, where she's saying that women should be the ones who sort of sleep around and use men's emotions and then leave them and do all of this outside of marriage.
Right.
So if you kind of unfollow Meghan Trainor, this young girl might pop up, and someone similar to her might pop up next. So it's not about just removing these people from your children's lives. It's about having discussions with them about these core beliefs, because there are some things that Andrew Tate says that are extremely valid.
But there's also a bunch of stuff that is very secular, very worldly,
extremely,
money driven.
Completely money driven. His entire empire, everything he does is
Call it
money
an
driven.
empire.
Yeah, he has called it.
He's an empire man.
He has called it an empire.
Wow.
He often refers to himself kind of as the sort of king or something like that.
Wow.
Understanding it within a social media realm,
Okay.
but he uses that language to describe himself. So you can't remove. There's no way to remove all of this stuff from a young person's life. You have to teach them the core values so that they can decide for themselves when they see this big influencer or this little influencer. Okay, I agree with that, but the rest of it is nonsense. So either I'm going to unfollow this person, completely remove them, or I'm just going to decide, okay, this I agree with, this I don't.
Yeah, so we're really encouraging a conversation between parents and young adults.
Yeah.
And young adults or children to have this conversation with parents as well, because their parents are at least going to have a perspective which is going to be far wiser than theirs. They've got this micro world view. So a conversation between it, and then the third party is the Word of God.
Yeah.
So to bring that into the picture today, because we're saying this is an objective view, isn't it? So in the end, it doesn't really matter what Megan Tate or Megan Trainor or Andrew Tate or the young person or the adult says. What matters is what the Word of God says. So, I mean, let's go back to Romans chapter 1. And some people would say that, it just seems like God is, against me making money. I mean, what's wrong with Andrew? He's a tough guy.
Yeah,
he's making it happen.
And he's being a manly man, which in the Old Testament, there's tons of those, nothing wrong with it.
And this woman who's expressing herself also found a way to make cash. I mean, that's her view. Why not just leave her alone?
She's accepting people. We're supposed to accept people.
Yeah. So when Paul starts addressing these major issues, these behavioral issues, he first starts out by lifting up the gospel. And I wanted our listeners and to get it clear today that in this picture of Romans 1, 2, and 3, there is this reality that some specific sins are lifted out, and they're mostly in the sexual kind of area. But then the coin is flipped on those who feel they are morally superior and living a good life. Yeah. Just in case they feel they can also live independently of God. And then lastly, he goes up and he says in Romans 3, he says, Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. All of us. So it's not like we're picking on the male machos or the liberal females, trying to lift up the LGBTQ community. All of us are included, absolutely all of it. But the beauty is that Paul says right in the beginning in Romans 1, he says, I'm not ashamed of the gospel because it is the power of God for salvation, for everyone who believes, first for the Jew and then for the Gentile. For in the gospel, a righteousness from God is revealed, a righteousness that is by faith from first to last, just as it is written, the righteous will live by faith. And Kate, I mean, this really is the good news, because much as we're talking about two influences here and some micro-influences, our hope is that they'll get saved.
Yeah.
Our hope is that their lives will change. And this is exactly what they're saying. He's not ashamed of the gospel, because the power of God, the word used is actually a word for dynamite. So he's actually saying this dunamis, this dynamite, changes a life, transforms a life. So people who are caught in this lifestyle, be it the Andrews or the Megans or the Murrays and the Catons or your child or daughter getting sucked up in a very worldly, secular worldview, there's hope of change.
Yeah.
And this is clearly saying everyone needs transformation, everyone needs change, including you and I.
Yeah.
But it's also saying that it reveals a righteousness from God. So it's saying there is a moral, ethical way, and this is God's character. Because last week we said the whole of creation speaks about God. So we're born into a moral world. So we actually know what's right and wrong. And then we can suppress that truth. So what we're saying is, these influences, they're obviously suppressing the truth. You can see it. But to a young person, somebody who gets sucked up in it, they're not going to see it. So that's why we're saying it's deception. Yeah. So we're warning, but there's also so much hope here.
Yeah.
Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I think there is, and I think the reason why a lot of young people will follow people like Megan Trainor and Andrew Tate is because they're searching for that hope, and they're searching for that change. The difference is just because both of them will speak a lot about having sort of this moral perspective on life and how we should live a moral life, but the importance for us is to teach our young people to dig into the Bible, to find those morals and values, and not find them in a minute-long YouTube or TikTok video. It's important for them to find it in the Bible.
So I mean, the gospel offers us a whole new life in Christ and a new way to live.
And which is what young people are looking for. But I don't think they realize there's nothing new that's being said now. It's already been said in the Bible. If we look there, that's where you'll find it.
And we will track down, next time we'll start going deeper into some of these realities that are mentioned here, some of the obstacles that come in and cause us to live this independent life from God, which is what we're saying Megan and Andrew are doing. So for parents, it's an awareness, it's a reality, it's a conversation that these influences are the people trying to cause their children to behave in a particular way.
Yeah, they're the people educating your kids. You can't control kind of what your children are looking at every moment of the day. So it is, as scary as or sad as it sounds, it is who's educating the youth of today are people in these social media spaces. Which is why conversation is so important. You can't just remove a cell phone, remove a device, remove someone off the social media site. You have to have a conversation about the core kind of biblical morals and values.
So we'll dig into that next week and go more into the dangers of that kind of secular humanistic worldview that Andrew is proposing, and then Megan, that sort of feminist, positive LGBTQ community, and what Romans 1 has to say about that. See you next time.
Thanks.